If you're a fan of Genshin Impact, chances are you're gonna like Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves is a gacha game developed and produced by Kuro Games. Now it's important to keep in mind that this game was not developed by Hoyoverse. As previously stated, this game is developed by an entirely separate company. Despite this, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this game was developed by the same developer as Genshin Impact, as it shares many similarities. Despite sharing these similarities, Wuthering Waves does have its own uniqueness that separates it from Genshin Impact. Notably, it has some nice quality of life improvements around the pole system. One of the things I always rather disliked about Genshin Impact is it never really gave you an indicator of like how many pulls you had done for pity. In Wuthering Waves, it's built right into the default screen, so anytime you're going to pull for your favorite character or the one that's on the banner, you can see it right there up front. It's real convenient. Another major area of improvement in Wuthering Waves over Genshin Impact is the combat system. The combat system here seems to be a bit more fluid. One con though is that you get 3 characters rather than 4 in your team, which is a little bit of a bummer for me. But you do get some extra added perks, such as being able to use your grappling hook in combat and being able to do outro and intro attacks as part of your transition. This might be a little bit more of a gripe, but one thing I would have liked to have seen here is that during combat I would have liked to have seen more static abilities float from the other characters like you can in Genshin Impact. For example, certain characters in Genshin can drop like an electric crow that deals damage over time to enemies in the area. It's entirely possible that in Wuthering Waves I just don't have the characters for this, but I would like to have seen some of that here. As you can see from the gameplay footage on screen, when the game engine's running properly, the combat's very fluid and it feels very satisfying. Unfortunately, during my early gameplay when the game launched, I noticed a slight issue with 1% lows. This can be very distracting during gameplay. Speaking of combat, what you just saw on screen was the capture of one of the wild beasts in the world. You can use these to augment your abilities and gain perks or other, unique gameplay effects. I haven't had too much time to delve into this yet, but it seems like the list of what you can capture and augment your capabilities with is quite extensive, allowing you to really build up the team to your own, desire. Just like with Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves is starting out with a relatively smaller map. This allows them to fine-tune what's in there to a much higher degree, and as expansions come through in the future, they're going to be able to expand the map, the exact same way Genshin Impact did it. This, in my opinion, is a relatively good thing. Too often these days are games trying to copy each other and come out with like this new system that doesn't work quite well, or they make the world just too big for what they can handle and the game starts to feel empty and like you're just getting lost in nothing. It's nice here in Wuthering Waves where like around like every mountain ledge or something there's something to go do, something to go look at. It's very similar to Genshin in that manner. I'm saying it's similar to Genshin a lot here, and that is going to be a reoccurring theme when you play this game, and that is because Genshin players are the target audience for this game. That's why I said at the beginning, if you liked Genshin Impact, you're probably going to like Wuthering Waves. It is designed to be similar, so that way when you come over and play it, it's just going to be like picking it right up. Character leveling is also something straight borrowed out of Genshin. When it comes to upgrading your characters, very similar systems. Again, it's not going to be any harder jumping into Wuthering Waves than it is going to be hopping from like Genshin Impact into like Honkai Star Rail. I'm going to start talking now about the things I really do like about this game. Most notably, I like the combat. It feels good. It's fluid. It is definitely more fine-tuned than Genshin's is, and that's what I really like about it. Now, I like the story in this game as well. It seems to be a little bit more flushed out, but it feels more like a single-player RPG than, let's say, Genshin's kind of like open, like you come to a quest here or there thing when you got time set up, because the questing gets so long and drawn out. I've played 4, maybe 5 hours at this point, and most of it has honestly been spent going through the dialogue. Moving on to the cons of the game. First and foremost, they need to find some other way to start delivering story-based content from these main story quests. It's nice how well fleshed out they are. The problem is you spend more time listening to people talk in this game than you do playing the game. And for some people, that's a little bit of a turnoff, and I get that. Genshin had this down pretty good, it's just that I didn't think their story was all that compelling. My second big issue with Wuthering Waves at this point is I feel like the game engine needs a little bit of fine tuning. It's a little rough here in the beginning, but that's to be expected with any new release. Now, despite sitting here talking up the main story quest in this game, I have found that it's really slow to get into things. There's certain characters you meet that really make you want to pay attention. And if you want to learn the world lore, you got to pay attention because it's either that or you read, and I don't see many players of these types of games reading everything. It's just, I don't think that's the target demographic here. Now, as an early thoughts, I think Wuthering Waves is going to do quite well now and into the future. They got a very good base system to work with. What they do now with it is what's going to determine its long-term success. And if prior success is any guide to go off of, then I think it's going to do quite well. That being said, though, if you're a big Genshin Impact player and you don't want to give up all your characters, I completely understand. But for new players, I highly recommend giving Wuthering Waves a try over Genshin Impact, purely on the refreshing combat system and the fact that when you go in and you're playing this, you have a lot less to catch up to. I know as someone that got into Genshin later than all my friends, I've been realizing that the hill I have to climb is huge. Whereas here, it's much smaller, so there's much less pressure to get caught up to those people you want to play with. And I'm leaving this off with one final note. I don't know if there's a multiplayer to this game because I haven't seen it yet, but it's entirely possible. I'm just not far enough into the game yet, being where I'm at. Genshin had theirs locked behind a world level. It's entirely possible they are doing something similar here.